All right, this episode of a Hero's Journey podcast is brought to you by our newest sponsor. I want to shout out and give them some love. Val and Frankie over at West Coast Tattoo Parlor, right here in Las Vegas, 2 locations, Las Vegas and on Rainbow. Thank you so much for jumping on board with us. True Beauty by Trevor. Thank you, dude. His story, I got to have him on the show. His story is moving. It's special. He's accomplished a lot, and I want to thank him for doing what he's doing. SMP Inc., JPS Computers, and a shout out to Rock Rage Radio out there, all the listeners. Chase, it's wild. I've been doing this now for a little over a year. Hero's Journey podcast with you, and you probably don't have your camera on today, do you?
I sure don't, but I could probably get
that's
that
all right.
Best, you know?
So here's the thing. You meet certain people, they come into your life. There are people that you meet in the moment, and then that are just in passing. Then there's somebody that you reach out and you shake their hand, and you just know there's something special. There's some sort of connection. Don't know why, and it happened in this lobby one day, and I'm just sitting back and watching this. Everyone just kind of gravitate to him, and he was taking all this. Like just taking it all in, noticing everything, taking in this new environment, this new space, this new thing that I've taken on myself as well with this Hero's Journey podcast, with the podcast and sitting down with people. But this guy's personality is just he'll do anything, and it shows. And instantly we became friends, and it's crazy cool because he calls me Big Bro, and it's funny because on the show, I'm like, what do you want to go by? Like, what do you go by? Because he has a show here called Fight Junkeez. He's my boy. I tell him all the time, I have your 6. And he knows that. He knows that I could get a call at 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. I don't care when it is. He knows that I'll be there for him. And we know each other about this much, but it doesn't matter because we know that we know each other. And so Bad Bob, Bobby, Rob Lawrence, Bob Lawrence, whatever you want to call him. It's my boy. I told you I have your 6 from Fight Junkeez, everybody. Bobby. Yeah, boy.
What an intro. What an intro. I appreciate it. I appreciate the love. Likewise. I feel the same exact way.
Yeah.
I had to question my sexuality the first time I met you. I love that, man. I love that, man. I hear Elvis when I look in his eyes.
You walked in today saying, dude, I was singing your song all night long.
Yeah.
Last night. I was like, wait, what?
I was happy that for the first, and we've all had it. Everybody could agree. Anyone that watches this, we've all had a song stuck in our head where it's a horrible to the point where you can't sleep, and you're going to the bathroom and you're singing it, and then you're driving to work and singing it, and you get sick of that song. But yesterday I was scrolling through some Instagram, and your Holy Water song came on, and it was really catchy, as most of your work is.
Thanks, man.
But it had to hit one of those parts of my brain where it just stuck. And literally, still to this day, it's holy water. And the second, holy water. Yeah.
So what he's talking about is I'm the lead singer of the band Elvis Monroe, and I have a song called Holy Water on the Story So Far record. And yesterday I posted, it was a past post actually, I don't even know if I had shared it on social media, so I thought I would. Chase sat down and we did the Story So Far stuff in Studio A, and just sat down, told some stories, and played some songs on the Elvis Monroe stuff, which right now I just put on Chase to like, hey, can we come in on Friday and cut something new? I wrote a new song and I want to just get it down, just have it, so I can have it to share. But I want to get back to you.
Well, can I just interject real fast?
Yeah, please,
Brian?
man. Yeah.
I think you're really overlooking a part. Who helped you write Holy Water?
Randy Couture.
Yeah.
Wow. Randy Couture is a writer. Thank you, man.
Shout out to Randy.
Yeah, so we were in Alaska, and I actually started writing this song on New Year's Day. It was New Year's Day, and we were at my buddy's house who owns Life is Beautiful. and Seven Magazine and whatnot. We were at his place, and he was drunk, and it was a joke. He was just like banging on the piano, and Ben was playing something on guitar in the kitchen, and I was jokingly singing Holy Water, like the line. And I went, ooh, that's kind of good. Keep playing. And I'm having to ask him to be quiet. I get the chorus down, and we get to Alaska, and Randy came with us. Randy Couture is one of our good friends, and he came with us. And he was in the next room, the hotel room, and he hears us practicing or writing this song. And he goes, what is that? And we're like, brand new. And I just wrote the melody to the verses. And Randy's a poet. If you don't know this about him, he's got a book full of poetry, several books full of poetry. And I said, well, why don't you sit down and write this with us? And he ended up doing that. And so Holy Water was a co-write with Randy Couture. And so, yeah,
that's really cool.
And it was my first actual co-write with anybody. I'd never let anybody sit down and write what I'm going to say and sing.
Well, some of the most beautiful things just kind of happen, right?
Yeah. And it was special. And the thing is, neither Ben and I, neither one of us drink, but I'm Native American Indian. And so Holy Water, it's kind of, and it's that whole, if I drink this whole thing, am I going to be saved kind of thing, maybe for the night.
Yeah.
And so Randy was like, I can relate. And I'm like, there you go. And so we sat down and got his point of view.
I think it's great.
Thanks, man.
I definitely could. Yeah, there was two different meanings in there.
Yeah.
And being that I'm 5 years sober.
No way.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. July 23rd was 5 years off of heroin and opiates.
Dude.
Yeah. I don't go to meetings. I don't count days. I'll still have a drink here and there. So I say sober lightly. But to me, that's sober. I'm not sick. I'm not using every 3 hours. I'm not destroying myself from the inside out. My family's back in my life. I feel good. I'm healthy.
How did that come up? Like, how did you
perceive that from the song?
Well, no, just, yeah.
What did you take be wrong?
Yeah,
but
please.
In a way, some of the lyrics and the tone of the chorus, like, I think for me and maybe some other like addicts would relate the holy water to like alcohol.
No, that's what it is.
Yeah, okay.
And that's what it is. And it's this.
So I'm not completely
You're
nuts.
not. It's like you're hoping that you run to something to help hide.
And a numb and save
the
you.
numb, exactly. And so, and this is numbing, and it's going to save me for this moment. But as soon as I sober up, everything comes back. Nothing goes away. Yeah. And so that was that whole, is this bottle actually made of holy water? Like, is this going to save me if I drink this whole thing, kind of thing? And the verses were from the point of view of like a female, like that broke your heart and drove you to this kind of thing. But we have all our reasons why we do certain things. And here's for me, I've never drank or done drugs my entire life. I don't know what they taste like. Alcohol tastes like. I don't know what drugs are like. I've only taken Tylenol with codeine in it one time because I didn't know. And it's because I had a broken leg. And
yeah, I kind of needed it.
Yeah, but I said, no more. Give me, some Tylenol. So because I have an addictive personality.
Yeah.
And I know that I would fall down that rabbit hole and it would get bad for me. I grew up around alcoholics and on both sides. So, yeah.
That's probably what, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Well,
so,
you saw what happened and you didn't want to replicate that.
Exactly. But I want to take this back because you just went right to the middle of who you are. And you're so much more than all this. And you and I have sat down and talked about these things because
it's become saturated. I'm proud of everyone that's sober, but I'm glad you said that. I do not identify as an addict. That's why a lot of people don't know, because I don't go to meetings, not because I'm better than meetings, but I refuse to raise my hand and say, I'm Bobby, I'm an addict, because I'm so much more than that. Okay. That I just can't give it that much power to identify. And I think nowadays it's almost become like cool to be like, I'm recovering. And like people are doing it to fit in. And I think, like you said, there's so much more beauty to people and depth that we need to look at those more instead of just like, I don't know. People are like striving to have like trauma-filled stories so that they can look good on Instagram clips. It's
possibly, and I fall down that rabbit hole of seeing your social media and the stuff that you're very passionate about. You're passionate about these things. You're a military guy. You What branch of military?
The United States Army.
There you go. Okay,
Yeah,
so
Army.
you're a military guy. You're a family guy. That's important to you. I saw just everything that you go through just for that. And like I said, I see the personality that you. I said that at the top of this show, and you do a great job doing it. You're out on the streets with Fight Junkeez. You'll go interview just random strangers and get their advice. Tell the story of how you landed in this building, because it goes further back. It goes back to the Apex. You're a big fight fan.
Yeah.
Huge fight fan.
Yeah, huge.
So I want to hear this story.
Well, I'm gonna go back
Please.
even further, because
No,
I
please.
want to
Yeah.
give advice to the young man who's looking for a group of people because he feels like he's alone. And I want to give advice based off my experience that sometimes you got to be cautious of the groups that you pick.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I missed the squad in the military. I missed being with a platoon, and then years later, being alone in California, I was drawn to the MC life.
Wow.
And I went from combat vet motorcycle club to one of the larger and largest in a lot of ways. But I did it because I felt alone and I wanted camaraderie and brotherhood. But I knew nothing about that life, nothing. And it ended up being a very scary, life-changing few months. Now, granted, I will say a lot of tremendous men that I met that I looked up to in a lot of ways, strong, hard men. But they went through a lot of tough things to become those men. Mm-hmm. And it's just, everything in my life has been almost a bad decision turns into something beautiful because I'm running from something. It's like, it's a rebound effect, because I've always tried to run away from myself. And no matter where I go in all these different states or different countries or different women or different drugs, I'm still in the mirror. It's still me. So I'll back up to, if you are feeling lonely, look out to people that you really would like to emulate. Don't follow a group in any form or fashion. I'm not down talking MC culture. I do miss riding, and a lot of the guys, if they call me tomorrow, I'd be there because they were good to me. It just wasn't for me. I wasn't built that way. I'm a strong man, but there's levels to what I'm capable of. Yeah. And so just be cautious, young man. If you feel alone, reach out to somebody that you can aspire to be like. Don't try to just follow blindly. So because I left that life, I left literally overnight and ended up in Las Vegas. I had a fifth wheel camper, and we pulled it here. Okay. Because I felt at the time I should probably separate myself from this situation. And we came here, and Vegas was great, but I was still, besides to drink once a month, like sober, and we didn't have much money. We lived in a little camper trailer over near Samstown at the Las Vegas RV Resort. Okay. And this whole time I'm fighting for custody for my kids. There's a lot of going on, but the one thing that always put a smile on my face was MMA and the UFC. So no matter what was happening, I always had my hobby. A lot of people have RC cars, which I used to love. Right. They have music, guitar, singing, which I also like to do. Right. But my every single day shoved down my throat addiction was UFC. Okay. So I'm talking 30 hours a week keeping up with this. My entire feed, every YouTube thing, you go and log in my YouTube right now. It's all, and granted now it's my job. I host the fight show, but I never had the for one, when I did have money before the addiction brought me to my knees, I was in Germany 6 years, and then Iraq, and then Louisiana, and I was raising children. I never had the time to spend the little money I had to go to a fight. So I'd never been to a UFC fight. Right. I could tell you the roster, their coaches, when they took a crap on a Tuesday, but I had never been to an actual fight. So we get here, and I'm driving by the UFC Apex that is right behind.
It's right near us right now. We could walk there.
Yeah. And I kept telling my wife, like, man, I have a lot to offer. I don't know what that is, but if everyone says, if you could do something you love, what would it be? For me, it would have to do with UFC. So one day I told her, I'm going to go to Home Depot. I'll be right back. And I came back with a big cardboard cutout, plain. And I wrote, Uncle Dana, Iraq vet, let me watch the fights. Hashtag Nelk Boys. And I went to the UFC Apex and got out of the car, scared and laughing at the same time. Emotions were high because I didn't know, like, at the time I was 35 and I'm like, these guys might tase me and beat the shit out of me, like, trespass me.
Right.
What if, Dana says, who's that, send out 6 UFC fighters. So yeah, I stood in front of the UFC Apex with the cardboard sign, Uncle Dana, Iraq vet, let me watch the fights. And still to this day, I'm blessed for him. He's a friend of mine, Billy. You know Billy?
Yes.
Billy was the security that came out of the building.
Wow.
And he's like, why are you laughing? We have it on video. I'll send it so Chase
Please.
can put it in
Yeah.
this. And I said, because this is ridiculous, man. I'm like, I'm 35 years old. I'm out here with a cardboard sign. And I'm like, I'll just leave. And he said, are you a real vet? Prove it. So I gave him my ID. And I was like, yeah, like, I got to be honest. I'm going to break some news since we're on Big Bro Show. Everyone thinks I just randomly showed up in front of the Apex. A little more strategic. I know the UFC schedule. At the time, every Tuesday at 5 o'clock, Dana White streamed the Contender Series live on ESPN.
Right.
So I knew that he had to be around the building
Right.
2 or 3 hours before. So I strategically did it. And I've never really used being a combat vet or a disabled vet as a thing to gain anything.
Yeah.
But I figured, you know what? I'm going to use it. Dana is a big Republican. I don't know if he's Republican or not, but he loves veterans.
Right.
And this was the same week that we lost people in Afghanistan and we pulled out. You know,
I remember that. Okay.
So it was a hard week for me. I lost a lot of friends over the years, a lot to suicide. And I was thinking, like, those guys would want me to live the best life I can live.
Yeah. Exactly.
If they were here right now, they'd say, go, take your sign and go. And I felt guilty, like, doing it that week. And it's like, you know what? If I would have passed away from the bomb that put me in the hospital, I'd be like, Brian, go, of course.
Right.
You are a vet. Like,
right.
And I tell veterans, and I'll say it again, because I ask veterans all the time, what branch, just because I want to know the lingo.
Right,
I just can't figure out the Navy for the life of me. I don't know what's going on with the Navy. But every time I talk to a vet and they see, like, that I was a sergeant, I have a combat action badge, which nobody wants. You don't want that. For some reason, veterans are downplaying their service, and they say, I was just a
I know.
private.
They always say that.
And
I always get it. I'm just that's rough. That is a rough thing.
You're a part of the biggest military and the best military in the history of the world. You put your hand up to the cost and the amount of your life.
Right.
Be proud of what you did, whether you did serve 2 days or got hurt
or answering phones. Whatever it is, you didn't know what you were signing. You knew what you were signing up for, but you didn't know what you were going to be assigned to.
Yes.
My father, he suffers from that survival guilt kind of thing from Vietnam, because when they were being shipped off, my dad was a Marine. I wear his dog tag. I wear it proudly, right? And I remember him telling me this story, and I didn't realize it until I would find my dad at like 3 a.m. crying in the kitchen, and no one's around. Like, why? Like, everyone's in bed. Why is he up crying? Yeah. This happened multiple times, and when I was older, I asked him, and one day he just tells me the story that he believes that if he would have went, his platoon would all be alive. And I'm like, what do you mean? And he said the day that we were shipping out, our tanks were being put on a ship, somebody rolled up in a Jeep and yelled out my name and someone else's name and assigned me to a paint house stateside. So I stayed in North Carolina or wherever it was. And he said, I stayed, they went, they didn't last a day. And I went, what? I didn't know this. And so I understand that. And my dad, my dad trained at everything. He's lost hearing on the right side of his head from having to sit there and them firing off when he was training. All the impact, all that loud stuff in the tank, that noise. So my dad's paid the price. He didn't pay the ultimate price, and that bothers him. And he believes that, if he would have went, they would have survived. Now,
or died with them.
Exactly. Either or.
I get it.
Yeah. And
I get it.
And so, and my dad was, he was young when this was going on. They had me at 16. So, my parents were very young when I was having this conversation with him, and he's in his 20s, but he was a full grown man to me as a little kid, so back to, I want to stay on track here.
Yeah. So I made the cardboard sign, Uncle Dana, Iraq vet, let me watch the fights. Billy comes out. He takes a photo of me, says, I can't promise you anything, but I'll give me your number. So we exchanged phone numbers. I got in the car. Before we even left the Apex, he came running out, and he was like, it's your lucky day. Follow me. And we followed him around to the headquarters building. And we were waiting inside where all the belts and all the and Dana came down.
No way.
And was like, hey, what's up? And I looked at him, and I was like, oh my, I mean, you're talking 25 years I've been watching these fights.
Right.
And I'm a fan of a lot of the fighters, but a bigger fan of Dana. Just who he is as a human and how he conducts business as a man. I've always just looked up to him. And I remember I ran in a circle, like around, like, are you kidding me? Like clapping. And then I gave him a hug, and we talked, and he hugged my wife, and he was like, you coming to the fights tonight? And I was like, I would love to, that's up to you though. And he was like, absolutely. So my wife and I, we went from there right over to the Apex because I timed it perfectly to see if it would work. I didn't think it was gonna, but I'm like, I'm gonna give it a chance. So I tell a lot of people, like, don't jump into the first group to follow because you're missing something. To go find that missing piece and do something. Because
you're sitting in this room though because of the person he sat you next to.
Yeah. So I go to the fights, and I mean, I'm living in a little camper trailer. I don't really have anything. Maybe money for Taco Bell for the day. My life is at this point like. It's better because I'm a few years sober, but I'm still like, I fully believe if you got high for a decade, you can't expect your life to be good in 4 years because you got some more debt to pay off. So karma debt's real. But I was just like, I'm in the Apex, and I see all these people, and this is before the VIP room existed.
Okay,
so that wasn't there yet.
Oh wow!
And I see our friend, owner of the studio. I see John Orlando and Vanessa. And I don't know who they are, but I'm like, that dude looks like he's somebody.
Right.
And I'm going to find out who he is. So Dana that day comes over because we were his guests. We were sitting next to him. And he goes, you guys having fun? And my wife goes, yeah, we've never been to a fight. And he goes, what? You've never been to a fight? Tell my people Darren Till's fighting Derek Brunson on a fight night this Saturday. And you guys are coming as my guest again.
Wow.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
So Dana invited us back, hang out with Dana again, talking. It was just tremendous. He took care of us, and I see John again, and I'm like, who the hell is this guy? He just looked like he was, whatever he was doing was working.
Right.
And I wanted to emulate it. So I finally asked some of the people in there. I'm like, hey, who's that? And they're like, that's John Orlando. So I found him on Instagram and I followed him. Now the second time when we were leaving the Apex, I was with Billy and I talked to, I won't say her name, but one of the Dana's people. And I said, look, Dana's given so much to me and he does so much for everybody else. I want to do something for Dana. So they were like, well, come back. So we came back, and the third time I went to the UFC, I felt like Dana had done so much for me that I really needed to impact him with a gift. So we got in the octagon, and I gave him a flag that I had in Iraq 17 years ago.
Oh, wow.
With a picture of me in my dress blues. And I gave him a shirt from my father that is the 20th year anniversary of 9/11 that my dad got with the guys that, passed away. And I gave Dana the 9/11 shirt and a shadow box with the flag from Iraq. And gave him a hug, took a picture. And I remember telling Dana, I don't know how or what, but I'm going to make you proud and you're going to see me again. And he's like, all right, kid, prove it, you know? And I don't know if he believed me or thought I was full of shit, but I saw him not long ago at the Apex and he couldn't believe that I'm in Vegas hosting a fight show with John.
Right? And you're here. And I've got the chance to sit in that same room now at the Apex, Contender Series, and I watch Ode, who's a mutual friend. Ode Osborne.
Jamaican sensation.
Exactly. So I've got to be around you and see what you've accomplished. Now, the thing is, we've been all over the place on this because I've watched. You fill me in with like, oh, this just happened, that just happened, and I don't know the whole story, but this show is a hero's journey. We all wake up the hero of our own story. It just made me think of something right now. You say you didn't have enough money to eat and enough for Taco Bell, yet you go and put a flag in a shadow box for Dana White. That costs some money. The shadow box is $30-$40.
I probably told my dad to send me a Venmo or something.
Okay.
Or asked him, yeah.
Whatever it was, I'm saying here's a guy you could have just presented him with the flag, and he has more than enough money to have somebody go put it in a shadow box for you. But you went and thought about those things. That's the type of person you are. That's why I know that if you needed me, I'd be there. And no joke, right before the show, I'm like, what's Bobby's last name? I've known you for a while now.
Yeah.
And I just know that I saw the look on your face when we remember what John Orlando, he owns Sticky Paw Studios. He started all this. He's the guy with Action Junkeez. He's the reason why I'm sitting here. He's the reason why you're sitting there. You're emulating the right guy in all this. He's a hustler. He's somebody who works hard, and he takes chances in himself. He wants to work for himself, and that's what he does. And it's crazy. He's surrounded by good people, and we are some of the lucky ones that get to do that. So you're emulating the right person in all this, and you're watching this all go on, but you have all the tools, man. You know how to work hard. You know how to bust your ass. You know what the importance of giving somebody, like when I said, hey, Chase is my producer, you're like, I love Chase. And
I meant it.
Yeah, I know you do.
Yeah.
I know you do. And that's the thing. And when I saw you, John rented out the movie theater. And for 2 movie theaters.
Yeah, yep.
For the what is it?
The Nikes.
The Jordans. The Jordans, exactly.
Yeah.
That movie. So we had this red carpet thing, and it was like it was his movie or something. But all it was he rented out theater for all of us to see it.
Yep.
And when you were leaving, I walk up to your car.
Oh,
and I knew this was your first week.
Yep.
You're just getting started. And I needed you to understand that this was not going to be easy. This is going to come with highs. And if there's a high, there's going to be a low. And it's how we handle the lows, because it's not always this everything's going great kind of thing. I'm in an industry I'm a musician. I have to ride the waves. It's like being out at the beach and riding a wave, sitting out there and waiting for a wave, riding it into the beach, and now working my ass off to catch another one.
And getting smashed by some you didn't see.
Exactly. All of that. And so I walked up to your car, and I actually imparted just how I felt in that moment with you, and making sure that you understood that you had something special. I didn't know you very well at all. And it was important. I just felt it. I felt it, and I jumped on my bike and I took off. But it was that moment for me that I knew who you are, what kind of person you are. I could feel it. And I just wanted you to just know, ride this out, because you have something good here. Use this as a base. Use this space and the people around us for that positive. Because every time we walk in here, I just pull in here on days, and Chase knows this.
You just get excited.
I just walk in just to be around their energy.
Yeah, I've had many days I just show up. They're
Exactly.
like, what's up? And I'm like, nothing.
Nothing. I just want to be around you guys. Yeah. It's like pushing either reset, or it's pushing like Control Alt Delete.
Yeah.
And then it's time, and seeing everybody put in the work, seeing everybody being creative, seeing this space and being around this energy. I painted the walls out in the hallway. John asked me, do you know somebody who can paint the walls? And I went, what do you mean? He's like, I need a painter. And I said, well, you might be in luck. I just painted my spare room in my house. Yeah. And maybe I could do it. And he's like, no, that's not why I asked you. I said, no, let me do it. Give me the paint and stuff, and I'll do it. It's not gonna be great, but I'll do my very best. And I did 3 days, 3 coats on this wall, and I feel like I'm a part of it.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I wanted to. For nothing but the opportunity just to be a part of this space, and that's what you have. Now, when I met you, knowing that you're a military guy, and we go back to in the beginning when I said, I'm the lead singer of the band Elvis Monroe, it's important to me. People like Randy Couture, Randy, who's a good friend of mine, has the Extreme Couture GI Foundation, right? I do the rides with him. He raises money every year and goes out and cuts checks in Washington, D.C.
I was just with him a couple weeks ago on Veterans Day, cage side for the fights Tough Enough in the Sahara.
Yes.
J-Rock got me in there.
Amazing.
And I had just seen him at John Sarasani's event.
Yep.
And we spoke for a few minutes, and then I saw him again, and he came right up to me, and I gave him a hug. And
he's a great guy.
He was like, "What's up, man? What are you doing?"
Yep.
Just phenomenal.
He has that program that you go to.
MVP.
Yep, MVP at his gym, the Extreme Couture.
Merging vets and players.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so he has that. So when I met you, these were all the things that I like in the first moments that you were running around here, and I just was trying to soak in, this stuff and share, what I've learned from Randy and whatnot. But there was a time where there's a guy named Joey Jones. He's on Fox now. Or Fox and Friends, the morning show. He's a Marine, double amputee. But at the time, he was just somebody who was he was lost, right? But he said, this is the wildest thing, because I want to have Chase play this song. I wrote it with Ben, and we were with Randy Couture and Joe Nichols, and we were on his bus. And we just had a show, and now Joe Nichols has a show in front of 19,000 people, and we were in this trailer, actually, out back. And there's a knock at the door, and Joey comes waddling up. He has prosthetic legs, but he's strapped in boots, right? And he wants to meet Joe Nichols. And the promoters brought him in to meet him. And this was a moment for him. He wanted to share with Joe Nichols that Joe saved his life. And Joe's like, how did I save your life? And he said, I heard you on the radio. And I'm coming back from my 18th surgery or whatever it was. I think it was like his 18th surgery. And he said, I heard you talk about our military on the radio. I didn't hear you sing. I just heard you talk about how important it was to you, how important our military and the people who serve are to you. That's all I heard. And what you said resonated with me. And he said, I took my elbow on my iPad and I started downloading, because he still was having his arm put back together. And he said, I downloaded all your music and I listened to it for 3 months straight. And it got me so inspired that I went and volunteered at the boot campaign in my town. And wow. And he said, I was folding shirts. But he goes, and what you didn't know was at the moment that you were talking on the radio, I had decided I just had my last surgery and that was it. I'm not going to live anymore. And he goes, and you spoke to me through the radio. So he stood there telling us this story. And then I remembered he was the guy I saw on the news because they were covering him when this happened live. They were doing this out there. So he was somebody being carried off on a gurney with his arms and legs hanging up, just holding his stuff together. And I saw that on TV. And it was like I was putting all these pieces together. Well, Joe walks out on stage, tips his glasses at me and Ben, and he looks at Joey, and we're side of stage, and he goes, "There's a song in there." And so it took me a year, but I'm going down the 15 towards the Las Vegas Strip in the rain, and the chorus hit me, and I wrote the song. And what was crazy was it was Veterans Day the next day, and I was booked to do Fox. I was booked to do TV. And I wrote the song, called Ben. We got together, worked it out the next morning, played it on TV. I wrote it the night before. That same day, I left the studio and ran to a recording studio and re-recorded this. And I want you to play just a verse and chorus of this. But this is our thank you to you.
My name's Johnny Joey Jones. I'm a retired Marine Staff Sergeant, Explosive Ordnance Disposal Technician. I joined the Marine Corps back in 2005 after graduating high school. I knew I needed to serve my country.
Thank the man I met today for his service and sacrifices that he made for God and country. Red, white, and blue, let freedom ring was the choice this young man bleeds, and it changed his life. Somewhere heroes stand for great, fighting for what keeps us safe. The truth in colors that we fly. Every hero that I've ever known lies beneath the marble stone. Glory in lives we've left behind. Our heroes wear the colors that we fly.
In 2010, I lost my legs to an IED in a combat. From that day forward, I knew I had to get going and do the things I needed to do for my family and my responsibilities.
All right, Chase. Shook his hand to
Get me teary-eyed.
Well, that was my thank you to you. I'd never sat in the room with you to watch you. I don't know what to say.
That gets me a lot because my truck got hit in Iraq with a huge IED, 2 mortar rounds with like shrapnel and ball bearings and all kinds of stuff. And I ended up being okay. I mean, I got knocked into the truck and unconscious for a short period of time, but there's been lesser of IEDs that have just killed people and taken my brother's, sister's lives and legs. And, you know, I always had that guilt, like, why am I all right? So.
Hey.
I appreciate it. Yeah. I even said I'm not getting emotional today, but I think that's one of my strongest traits. I don't look at it as like, I mean, and I'm telling people that watch this, like, I promise you, it's okay to be emotional. Like I said, I rode with the baddest veterans in the world in a war. I've lived alone at 16 and had peanut butter and jelly on Christmas Day because my mom had been gone since I was 7. I guarantee if we need to stand up and see who can be gangster in a parking lot, I'm going to take it farther than most people. And I'm not proud of that. But if a guy like me can go through all that shit and then still tear up on a daily basis, it's okay. You can too. I give you permission, you know?
Dude, we're human.
I didn't cry for 10 years. I just held it all in and got numb, drugs, and was angry and hurt people and hurt myself and just self-destructed from the inside out and burned the boats. And I refuse to do that anymore. So I have to feel for the first time in a long time. I didn't know what feelings were, and now I'm sober and I feel it, and it sucks and it hurts, and I don't want to have to feel all this weight and this stress and this anxiety and get dizzy 6 times a day because I feel like I'm going to have a heart attack. It's just a part of the life I live now because of all the shit I've been through. But as you've heard, my best day getting high is still 10 times shittier than my worst day sober. And I'm not going to, I refuse to go back.
Good.
Yeah. So I appreciate that a lot. A lot of people don't, 99% of our military stays on the fob. And like we said, everybody has their, you know, some people are military intelligence. Some guys are, you know, the support companies. I thought I never joined like, I want to be a badass. My dad was an MP. I joined to be an MP thinking I'll be in a police car, like on base, chilling. And that's not what MPs do in Iraq. They're light infantry. It was a crazy time. And I tell people, you know, it's not about how many times you pulled the trigger. It's the thousands and thousands of times that you had someone in your iron sights and you processed taking their life. That is something that you never goes away. You know, a lot of it never goes away. But I'm living proof. We can use it as a tool, and you can slowly get around people like myself that'll start taking those weights out of that rucksack that you've been carrying. That's why another venture I'm going to start soon is I want to start a community for veterans that are dealing with traumatic brain injury and mental stress and addiction and PTSD and divorce and losing their kids and jail and all the things that I've been through and being homeless and hopeless. I want to be the pillar for a community where I can really look people in the eye and say, hey, motherfucker, like, you can't tell me I don't get it. You can't. I don't even know what my daughter looks like today. But I'm not going to give up on my other little girl because I failed 7-8 years ago. I know what pain is. But I'm going to be man enough to fucking stand up and do the best I can now. So if I can do it, I can help pull people out of that hole. And I'll jump in that fucking hole with you and rip your ass out if I have to. And people need people like me that they can really relate to. Not this guy who read a bunch of books and went to college and some preppy ass punk. Like, no offense, but my community isn't going to relate to that. You can't tell a guy who's drinking himself to death and puts his gun up against his mouth 6 times a day that you can help him. You can't. I can help those guys because I'm one of those guys.
You will, and you will. And the thing is, I was going to ask you what's next for you, but this is next.
Yeah, that's next.
You are the host of Fight Junkeez right here at Sticky Paw Studios. I love you, dude.
I love you too, brother.
And I appreciate you coming on this show.
I knew that I was gonna, you know, just because of who you are to me. And it's, you know, a lot of people would be embarrassed, or, you know, how can you want to show into your... I'm telling you, those are the people that are hurting the most. The egos that I can't tear up, I can't let it go. Those are the weak ones. You are strong when you can stand up and say, I am hurting.
Yeah.
You know, this is therapy for me, man. No. Obviously, I'm glad that I've been in the podcast studio as a host for almost a year now, because I'm more like, I don't even.
You know, I don't think about these cameras at all anymore either. And I know that going into it, that was the advice that I was trying to give you, just all of it.
It was a lot.
Just to be you. Just be you, because the person that I saw in that lobby, you were just soaking it all in, and this opportunity. I knew that it was going to be overwhelming, and I wanted you to make sure that you processed each thing and these little things. And who cares about social media numbers? Who cares about, keep being the genuine you, and all this will come through. And that's where you were for me today, and I appreciate it. And I didn't mean to put that on you, but I've told you I wanted to share that with you, and I don't know if you'd even heard it or seen it or anything, and I wanted to share.
I'm glad you did, because people need to see a real person like myself, who I would consider, like, ego aside, I'm a badass dude, man. I've been through some shit, and I would stand next to myself in any fucking situation.
There you go.
Because I'm going to stand tall, and we're going to handle business in any situation, whether that's being a good dad or a good husband or having to get down in a Walmart parking lot. Men who are like me, who think that way, need to hear me cry and say the things that I've been through.
Yeah.
Because there's guys that I'm still hurting.
I know.
You know?
And I can see it.
But the only way to get is to help other people.
And it's one day at a time. And when
my kids is the biggest thing. Like,
see, and that's the thing. I was just gonna say, when you're trying to help somebody else, when you're imparting knowledge, if you look up and you see yourself in the rearview mirror, you're talking to yourself too. So it's that you're teaching and you're learning at the same time.
All the time.
And the theme song to this show is called The View. And I was giving advice on the phone to somebody very dear to me, and looked up in the rearview mirror and went, I needed to hear this too. That same day. And I wrote the song, The View. So it's very important. And so imparting that knowledge on your family.
Yeah.
And I saw you dealing with family as you were walking it, and you were making sure that your home is as tight as it can possibly be.
Yeah.
And that's important.
I'm on my third marriage because of my PTSD, ruined the first one, and addiction ultimately ruined the second one. And I refuse now to give up.
Good.
My daughter deserves, and a lot of these veterans and people that watch this, like, we have to, like, there is other places to get solutions than your own head. We have to reach out and ask for advice and help.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be the preacher or like the doctor, but there's people out there. Like, for instance, when you said you came up to the car and spoke to me, and my wife was sitting next to me, that meant so much to me, because like I said, I've been in county jails, and people thought I was I've already done 10 years. I know how to just blend in and make it look like I'm okay. I was so lost when I got here. I mean, John, God bless his soul, he needs a vacation. He does 1,000 things. Yeah. And, he's not, and he's a little older. Like, so his dad, he's not he's a loving person, but like, he doesn't have time to be compassionate. He's already making the next move.
Right.
So I needed someone to say, hey, this is what it is, and that's okay. And this is what may come, but you got something special. Just don't quit.
Right.
And if you need something, I got you back. That you're still, to that day, the only person besides Billy that has said that to me.
Right.
And because people think, they see the studio and the cameras. You know how hard it was for me to come in here, never really ever been in a studio in my life. Right. And it's like, I'm hosting a show. My first guest was Eric Nixick. It runs Extreme Couture. How many champions has he's made? He's a buddy of mine now. But I mean, I was so nervous I could barely speak, and there's cameras, and they don't see, like, people are walking in and out of the door, and there's another guy over there working.
Producer sitting there, there's so much going on. There's so much detail. Yeah. And that's the thing. I just said to you, just be you. Just be you. And ride this, and there are going to be waves. There's going to be ups and downs. And
I've had people that I looked up to almost over every 5 years over the last 20 years tell me, like, you got something.
You do.
Once you figure out the vehicle to use it in, it's a wrap.
You do. And that's what I saw sitting in the lobby right outside these doors the day I met you. Because there are people that come and go, and I know that if you just stick this out, everything that you've been through, everything that you work towards, all the knowledge you have in the fight world, all that stuff will fall into place. But you it's not a sprint. It's a marathon.
Yeah.
Okay. And it's going to go in just week by week by week by week.
Brick by brick.
And just build the foundation and just keep building it and just have fun with this and keep being your genuine self. And you have a tool right now. You can have veterans on your show that need to hear you be vulnerable, you be real and honest with them as well. And even the ones just sitting at home, this is your tool right now.
Yeah.
They have that. They can see this. That's what's going on. So you have a tool. It's been given to you, whether you're aware of it or not. And because I watch you on social media, I fall down the rabbit hole of you sometimes. And you get very passionate about stuff. You be in your car and you just want to say it, because if you don't say it, you're just going to explode. Yeah. You want this out there. Great.
But the next step for me of taking like your advice is I've been screaming it from the rooftops and driving John crazy and everybody else. Last time I was at the Apex, Dana saw me and my wife, and he saw that we had a baby, and he was like, oh, so he came up, said hello to my. So I got Dana in front of me, and he's like, what do you need? Are you good? And I said, yes, I'm fine. John takes care of me. I'm in good hands. And then I was thinking, well, fuck, I do host a podcast. So I said, hey, Dana, would you come on my show soon so we could drop it on Veterans Day? And Dana's busy, and John's running businesses and doing so much that we don't see. So in those 6-7 weeks, it didn't work out, but I'm sure it will. But my goal, and I really believe, I've been around Dana White many times, and I've seen his passion with veterans, and I've seen his love for helping first responders. What better person than a son of a 9/11 first responder whose father is in the rubble, who is a former U.S. Army sergeant who served in Iraq? What better representative could the UFC have to bring fighters to meet vets and bring vets to the Apex to watch fights?
Wow. There you go.
They don't have that guy, and I want to be that guy. And,
and
that's the next step.
Yeah, and you're talking 4 or 5 guys at a time. Doesn't have to be a ton.
Or two. Or a guy who's just like, there's people right now who are literally, they don't want to be alive today. There's veterans who woke up today and took their life, 22, almost 26 a day now. There's people right now in Las Vegas who haven't showered, who are at the bottom of a bottle, and they think that there's no person in the world that understands. Well, I fucking do. And I know what saved my life. It was the UFC letting me in that building and showing me a whole different way to look at the world. So if I can take a veteran from their apartment somewhere out, we'll start in Vegas, and bring them to the Apex and let them smile and be around good, healthy people, to include someone who's just like them, who changed, I can save some lives. And I love the podcasting. I love it all. None of that matters in compared to me trying to save some lives.
That's awesome, but it's also the tool. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
the tool towards getting to help somebody. Now, I don't want to cut you off, but we got to wrap this up. Chase, I know you get a chance to work with Bobby, Robert, Bad Bob, whatever we want to call him, a lot. But is there anything from today's show that you want to bring up before we bounce?
Just whenever I hear your story, man, it's always so moving. I gotta keep from tearing up back here, So mad respect for you, brother. And I guess real recognizes real. I don't know, but I always appreciate you coming on these shows and telling your story, man. It's really great.
Yeah, I appreciate you. I've always said he's one of the most, no slight to anyone else in here, most authentic human. He's just himself. I envy the guy, and you're not saying you're a plumber, but you have a friend who is an electrician, and he doesn't give a crap about anything, but he drinks a couple beers at night and makes a fire. His kids love him. He's just that dude, and he doesn't even know how much of that dude he is. That's just who he is. Right. This guy pulls up on his badass bike. He's got his beanie. He's got the glasses. He's traveling. He sings opera, but he's also a badass, and he's just articulate with his words. I envy people like that, because so many people are trying to be fake that we forget who the hell they are. So thank you.
Yeah, I've watched him develop. I watched Chase change right in front of my eyes. So
That's true.
We,
Yeah.
no joke. In a year's time, I've watched him like a little brother, who not that you were searching for your identity, but I would come in here on any given day, and there was a different vibe, and a different vibe, and a different vibe, and it's kind of like watching my little brother do that until my brother became who he is, and then that's who he is.
Yeah.
And I've watched that in the last year with you, dude, and it makes me so proud to just sit back and witness what is going to be something great. I've watched you go to Austria a couple times. You're riding Harleys now. You got the new look. You have your own identity. I mean, it's badass. And
Just
I
like
thought, he's
yourself.
gonna have some tattoos. And I'm like, wait a minute, he has more tattoos than I do. And so speaking of, and thank you for that. I appreciate that.
Yeah,
Thank you for being here.
I perceived everything that you've done or said to me because I can, without knowing everything, I can just tell the caliber of a human and man that you are. And I've seen you vulnerable, and I know you're a badass. I wouldn't want to be on your bad side, but I know you love and help people, and I aspire to be like you.
Thank you.
In this room right now is probably like 3 of the most genuine people I know in my life. You come to think of it.
Yeah.
For real.
Thank you,
But we can go to the parking lot if we need to.
Hey, whoa.
No, not us. But that's a problem. We got to stop taking kindness for weakness. People may think men like us are weak because we're loving him. I think that we've been through so much bad that we just want to start with love, and it's just the way to go.
I lead with it, honestly, and sometimes it's a fault that my girl goes,
my wife
you
too.
got to stop. I'm like, that's who I am.
Yeah.
I can handle myself, and
I will never change who I am because of other people's actions.
Exactly. This is who I am, and this is I'm going to lead with love, and this is how I'm going to treat people, and that's just it.
Yeah.
And I'm a big enough guy I can handle my own. But with that said, I want to say I want to shout out to our new sponsors, West Coast Tattoo Parlor right here in Las Vegas, 2 locations. To True Beauty by Trevor, thank you. I appreciate it. SMP Inc. Those guys are awesome. Tyler, dude, love you, dude. And then to JPS Computers and everyone out there at Rock Rage Radio listening every Monday night, 9 o'clock Eastern, 6 o'clock Western. Thank you. Thank you for tuning in. Bad Bob, Fight Junkeez, Hero's Journey Podcast, my producer Chase, The Voice. We want to thank you guys. And this is dropping right now. So
All right, let's get a drop.
let's go get it.
And I believe it's coming around to me.